In a crowded city filled with noise, traffic, and rushing people lived a young man named Veer. He worked as a junior clerk in a busy office. Every morning, he woke up to the sound of alarms and arguments. Every night, he slept with stress and tiredness. Though he had a stable job and a small apartment, he felt like he was running in circles, exhausted, anxious, and empty. He always believed success came from speaking more, doing more, and being seen. So, he talked constantly, giving opinions, arguing with coworkers, and trying to prove himself. Yet, no one seemed to respect him. No one listened. His efforts went unnoticed. One day, while scrolling through his phone, we came across a short video. It was a clip of a monk sitting silently in the mountains, surrounded by nature. The caption read, "In silence, we hear life." Something about it touched him. He didn't know why, but he saved the video and watched it again and again. That weekend, fed up with the city, we decided to visit the place where the video was shot. After asking around, he discovered it was in a distant mountain region called Dharmikan, where a silent monk named Master Suman lived. We packed a bag, took leave from work, and traveled for 2 days by train, by bus, and finally on foot until he reached the peaceful mountain monastery. The place was quiet, with cold, fresh air, pine trees, and the sound of birds singing freely. When we arrived, Master Suman was sweeping the stone path outside the small monastery. He was old, thin, and completely silent. Not just quiet, silent. The villagers had told Veer that the monk hadn't spoken a word in over 20 years. We approached him and said, "Master, I've come from far away. My mind is a storm. I want peace. I want answers. But more than anything, I want to be heard. Please teach me." The monk looked at Veer and gave him a small folded paper. On it was written, "Stay with me for 7 days, but speak nothing. Only observe." Veer was shocked. No talking? For 7 days? But he had come for advice, wisdom, maybe even some ancient secret. Still, something deep inside told him to stay. So he agreed. The next morning, we began his silent stay. No phone, no books, no distractions. Just daily chores, meditation, and silence. On the first day, his mind screamed, "This is boring. This is stupid. Say something." But the monk never spoke. He just worked silently, watering plants, sweeping the floor, meditating by the river. On the second day, we began to notice small things. How the wind gently moved the leaves, how the birds communicated without words, and how his own breath was faster when he felt impatient. He realized how noisy his mind had become. By the fourth day, something strange happened. He began to enjoy the silence. His thoughts were still there, but they no longer controlled him. He began to feel light, as if a heavy bag was removed from his shoulders. He understood he didn't need to speak to feel alive. He just needed to be aware. Each evening, Master Suman would hand him a small piece of paper with one line written. These were the only messages we received. Silence is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of clarity. A quiet mind sees what a loud mouth misses. Those who know the most often speak the least. On the sixth day, we sat by the river and cried. Not out of sadness, but from peace. For the first time, he wasn't trying to be anyone. He wasn't trying to win. He was simply being. And it felt beautiful. On the seventh morning, the monk handed him the final note. It read, "Now, speak only when your words are better than silence." That evening, before leaving, we bowed deeply to the monk. "Thank you, Master," he said softly. The monk smiled and gently placed his hand on Veer's shoulder, a silent blessing. Veer returned to the city, but he was no longer the same man. He no longer spoke to impress. He spoke only when needed. He listened more, observed more, and judged less. People began to respect him, not because he shouted the loudest, but because he carried a quiet strength. He stopped arguing, stopped chasing approval, and started living with purpose. Promotions came, friendships deepened, and most importantly, he found peace. One day, his old colleague asked him, "You've changed. What happened? You used to talk all the time." He smiled and replied, "I visited someone who taught me the power of silence." The man laughed. What did he say? We looked at him and said, nothing at all. Moral of the story. In today's world, everyone wants to speak, to shout, to be heard. But real power lies in silence. In silence, we hear our heart. In silence, we understand others. In silence, we become stronger. Be silent, not because you have nothing to say, but because everything is already speaking.